Reed, while you've been there, have you gotten a chance to see any of the other sites?
When we got in, my wife and I just kind of walked around a little bit, just get some air. There's like a pedestrian bridge that crosses the Thames, and we were just looking down the river, and there was like London Bridge, Big Ben, the London Eye. Last night, we actually took an Uber boat back from dinner, which was probably the best thing I've done so far. So
an Uber boat.
Yeah.
Is that a different thing on the app, or did you think you were getting a car and then it said you were getting a boat?
I don't know because I didn't order my ticket. So, but yeah, like somebody just bought all of our tickets all together and we just split it that way. So that way we could all get on the same ride. Yeah, you just like walk up to the dock and the boat pulls up and then you just take it to whatever dock that you get off on.
Hey, welcome to Meet at the Apple. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron. And we're here with Reed Garrett. Well, we're not here with Reed Garrett because Reed is in London with the Mets right now. Reed, how is it over there?
You know, it's one of a kind. There's so much history here. It's almost surreal to be here. So feel honored. It's awesome.
Reed, which of your teammates so far has been living his best London life? We've seen some pictures come out on social media. Mark Vientos going to the telephone booth. We saw some great pictures of the team dinner. So who's living it up the most right now over there on the other side of the pond?
You know, I think all of us are, at least from what I could tell, all of us had a great time last night. Dinner was awesome. It was great to spend time with our teammates, kind of like away from the field in a different country. It was kind of really get to know everybody, even more than you already do. So I can't tell one person in specific, but I know like last night after dinner, probably 15 of us went and hung out, and it was awesome.
What was the food that was served at the dinner? Was it like typical London fare, or was it like normal food?
So we had a lobster ravioli dish as like an appetizer, which was incredible. And then we had steak, and I'm trying to think what the sides were last night for the steak, but yeah, we had steak for dinner. And delicious. It was at a really cool, super old ship. So, that was something I never thought I'd see. You know, like a ship built in the 1800s. It was wild.
Good. So my main reason I asked was I just want to make sure it wasn't meat pie. I wanted to make sure you weren't being forced to eat like a shepherd's pie or something.
Yeah.
Now, Reed, you have a little bit more international experience than a lot of your teammates, having played in Japan. Have you been to London before, or is this your first time visiting the country?
First time. Yeah, okay. First time. I love it so far. Yeah, I think I would for sure come back at some point.
So we know when the NFL guys go over for their games, there's a lot of preparation they do to counter jet lag. They do stuff for treatments, food, and sleep. Did you have to do any of that while you prepared to come over?
Not really. You know, obviously we slept as much as we could on the plane and got over here and stayed up like all day. And I don't think anybody really took a nap because I feel like that would have just absolutely killed our schedule. But day 2 right now, I feel like we're starting to like round the corner. Yesterday was a little tough, like body wise, but obviously no practice, and we're actually getting ready to go out and do practice now. So yeah, I think we're starting to round the corner here.
What was the overall vibe like on the flight? We saw you guys all wearing the matching blue sweatsuits after a big sweep in DC. You get to the airport, you take the flight over there. So what was the vibe like? We know that the lie flat seats were a nice addition, a little bit different than what you guys are used to. All the family and friends on the plane. Just tell us about the voyage over to London.
Yeah, it was incredible. It helps having a happy flight. Going to DC and getting 3 wins is like. I don't think we could have set it up any better than that. But having all of our families and stuff on the plane, letting our wives kind of like see like behind the scenes a little bit was cool. Everybody was having a good time. We sat on the tarmac for like 2 hours before we left. So that kind of was a little tough, but you know what? We did it, and just kind of gave us some more time to hang out and talk and stuff. But pretty much as soon as we took off, everybody started falling asleep. So, which was good. You know, I think if we left earlier or something like that, it would have been tough to kind of get that rest in. But yeah, and then when we landed, all of us got on the bus and headed straight to the hotel. So yeah.
What time local did you guys land? Because I don't think many people knew about the 2-hour delay on the tarmac. I think that was obviously you had the
Yeah.
rain delay in DC that didn't help matters. So yeah,
Mhm.
what time did you get to London local time?
Noonish, I think. So like 6, was it like 6 or 5:30, 5 a.m., something like that, New York time?
Yeah, 6 a.m., 7
Yeah.
a.m. probably. 'Cause it's 9 a.m. right now for us while we're
Okay.
recording this. But did you preload your like iPad or laptop to watch anything? Like, did you think you were gonna watch something on the flight, or were you just 100% focused on sleeping?
I was 100% focused on sleeping. I turned like nature sounds on my on like Pandora and just let it ride and kind of like listen to the rain or something like that while we were going. So
That's a travel tip I've never heard before, and I'm 100% gonna use that now.
yeah, it's nice. It's just relaxing. It's just like it was dark and all I heard was like a thunderstorm. So it was like I was at home.
What's the reception been like from the people of London since you guys have gotten there? There's a lot of Mets fans, by the way, and I'm sure you guys have come to realize this over in London. We have a great fan who we're friends with. His name is Darren at UK Mets on Twitter. A very popular Mets fan overseas. But yeah, what's the reception been like since you guys got over there?
So yesterday when we got in, there was a couple people kind of like hanging out the hotel. There's actually two gentlemen, and they had like pictures of themselves at Citi Field. I think pretty much everybody signed their picture for them. And then obviously we've gone out like this morning. A couple of us went over to like Buckingham Palace. They were doing changing of the guard, and being around in that crowd there was probably 15 or 20 people who like recognize like Pete or Deke, or they saw us all together and they're like, all right, yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. So, it's been great. I think the so far from what I've seen, the fans are traveling great, and I mean we're excited and happy to have them here. It'd be awesome for us.
Are you gonna go get a picture with one of the Queen's guards before you leave, or did you get one when you saw the changing of the guards?
No, I did not get a picture with them. I we got there was so many people there, and it was kind of like just almost a little too crowded for my liking. So I kind of just like walked by and got out as quickly as I could.
When you say people recognize Deke, did you mean people recognized you?
They might have, yeah. They could have been like, "Oh, look, there's Jake or Reed, one of the two."
You know what would be a really cool thing to do is if you guys, I think I saw this with Mr. and Mrs. Met, do an Abbey Road remake picture where you
Yeah,
guys kind of walk across the street together where Abbey Road was we're on Abbey Road. That would be a cool London thing to do. If Vito and I were
yeah.
there, we would definitely do that for the podcast. Am I right, Vito?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. I'm not. I'm gonna say something controversial, Reed. I'm not a big Beatles guy.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not either. So I'm
The
not a
two of
hater.
you on London weekend, you guys saying you don't like the Beatles. That's ridiculous. That's absurd.
So, Reed, while you've been there, have you gotten a chance to see any of the other sites? I know you guys are near Big Ben and the Tower of London.
Yeah. So yesterday when we got in, my wife and I just kind of walked around a little bit, just get some air. There's like a pedestrian bridge that crosses the Thames, and we were watching we just looking down the river, and there was like London Bridge, Big Ben, the London Eye. Last night we actually took an Uber boat back from dinner, which was probably the best thing I've done so far. So
An Uber boat.
Yeah.
Is that a different thing on the app, or did you think you were getting a car and then it said you were getting a boat?
No, I think it's I don't know because I didn't order my ticket. So, but yeah, like somebody just bought all of our tickets all together and we just split it that way. So that way we could all get on the same ride. And yeah, you just like walk up to the dock and the boat pulls up, and then you just take it to whatever dock that you get off on. So it was cool.
I know you said you didn't do any sort of sleep training or any food training, but did you scout at least like the dimensions of the ballpark, look at what you're going to be dealing with? Because like, this is a lot smaller of a ballpark than I think you guys are used to playing in, just in baseball in general.
Yeah. We're about to go out. I think the Phillies are practicing right now, so I think we're going to go out after they're done and get practicing and see the conditions and stuff. So I didn't really do any research about the ballpark or where we were playing. But I think we're about to go out there now and check it out and see how it plays.
Have you seen the Philly fanatic around yet doing any of his shenanigans? I've seen him. He was by the Queen's Guard. I feel like he's got some tricks up his sleeve for this London weekend.
I saw it on Instagram. I think MLB posted it, but I haven't seen him in the wild yet. So I'll have to keep my eyes out for him today or tomorrow.
Have you been posting a lot of cool pictures on Instagram since you got over there?
Not really. I've taken a ton, so hopefully at some point I'll like filter through them and see which ones I deem worthy to post.
Can you make a prediction about your pictures? What do you think your favorite picture you took is going to be, if you had to guess, of all the pictures you took?
So if walking from our hotel to Buckingham Palace, there's it's the road into Buckingham Palace, and there's like a bunch of British flags that are hanging down, like kind of pretty, like it's a good scene. So hopefully I took the picture well enough, or I'm gonna have to do some editing, but I think that one's probably going to be it.
Cool. Well, Reed, you got to get back out there. We're really excited to watch the games this weekend. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us on Meet at the Apple. You could like, subscribe, listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And I guess we'll see you back in New York, Reed.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Vito Calisi. It's Jonathan Barron, and this is Meet at the Apple. And we're in New York. We're not in London, although I did tweet a few jokes that we were in London, hoping people understood that was Coney Island and just a normal Costco. But, John, Mets take one of the two games from Philly. At the end of that game, it could have been much worse, but we leave on a high note. The boys are on the plane feeling good. How do you feel after those two games, dude?
I'm pumped, dude. I'm pumped. The Mets sweep the Nats, which, by the way, the Nats have given the Braves a difficult time this weekend, so kind of validating those wins the Mets had in D.C. earlier in the week. Then they go to London. We all know how good the Phillies are. We talked about it. And the Mets split, and that's great. So they've actually split the last 4 games they've played against the Phillies, and now they get to come back after a day off on Monday, and they're going to welcome the Miami Marlins to town. So, look, we know what happened when the Mets went to Miami a couple weeks ago after the Mets actually beat Philly. Same pattern here. The Marlins took 2 of 3, and the Mets need to take business, but let's enjoy this one a little bit. A fun win, a fun weekend all around, even if you weren't there. I know I really enjoyed a lot of the different looks and the different conversations, and I liked ESPN getting that guy Mickey off the street to read the Mets starting lineup, and it was just unique. No fans behind the plate on the TV center field camera angle. That's kind of that messes with you.
It does, dude. When I watched the Cardinals series last year and they had it like that, it was almost hard to get into because like it almost doesn't feel like you're watching an actual baseball game. Like it almost feels like the COVID era games when it's like an empty crowd because you're just so used to seeing those heads behind. And I wish the interview we played for you guys earlier in this episode, the Reed Garrett interview, that's something that like I wish we would have thought to ask him of. Is there a difference in pitching to basically a batter's eye almost behind you?
Yeah, definitely a unique look. But, Reed told us about all the fun that the guys had away from the field. And obviously, I'm sure at the field too. But it was just cool seeing the players really embrace the weekend. You saw a lot of custom bats. You saw Francisco Lindor's awesome glove that he had customized for this weekend. It was really cool for the players to get mic'd up during the innings. Awesome that Lindor actually got to field the ground ball while he was mic'd up. That was unique. Just from start to finish, a really fun week, made more fun by the fact that the Mets win a thriller and another comeback victory on Sunday, Vito. The 6th time now the Mets have overcome a deficit of 3 or more runs and won. That is tied for the most in baseball. It was also the 4th time the Mets have come back after trailing through 8 innings in a game. That's also tied. So people lament and talk about some of the games the Mets have let slip away here this year. But I'll counter that as a glass half full guy by saying that the Mets have actually snatched victory from the jaws of defeat a lot themselves as well. Another one of those coming on Sunday.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like one of the things you can say about this Mets team is that if you're going into the bottom 3 innings, with a 2-3 run deficit, you don't feel out of it after what we've seen throughout this season. And it's just like you said, man, the energy at this game was so much fun, like seeing the fans really into it. All the specialty stuff. You mentioned Lindor's glove. Lindor also had a bat that was Mr. Met in the Queen's Guard hat, which Bryce, I think, had a matching bat. Harrison Bader also had his own thing. It was a really cool thing to see the players really embrace this. I mean, look, man, like it sucked to see Bryce Harper hit that home run, but like if you're interested in the growing of the game, the slide into the dugout, it was cool. Like you can't not say that. What did you not?
At first, I was so confused, and I watch soccer, but I was like, what is he doing? And then I was like, oh, because he didn't
Well,
slide that
it's a
much.
turf.
You know, in
It's a
soccer, they
turf
play on.
field. Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah, with concrete underneath. So, like in soccer, like a guy has enough momentum, he can go for like 10, 15, 20 feet maybe. Bryce went like
Yeah.
a foot and then came to a screeching halt. Um, Look, we said on the last episode when you told the story about how Bryce gave some advice to Mark Vientos, and I said like I kind of like Bryce Harper. Didn't love when he was coming up in the bottom of the ninth inning on Sunday with a
No.
chance to win the game. Thankfully, he just singled there. Didn't like when he hit the home run on Saturday. Kind of changed the momentum of the ball game, I'd say. But yes, he's great for the sport. He in the big moments, he always answers the bell. He's exhilarating to watch. I think all of us can agree on that. So yes, it was cool. It was unique. I'm sure the Phillies did not love seeing him pull
Did you
that
hear?
stunt though. Dave Dombrowski's probably.
Yeah.
I know that ESPN said Dombrowski said don't do it
Which
again.
I mean, like you said, man, it was turf is not a really safe thing to do those moves on, and like you said on the initial thought, it looked like he kind of just dropped to his knees. But once you heard him scream, "I love soccer," it was cool. But like, look, on the Mets side of things, it was really cool just seeing the Mets guys have fun. Like Francisco Lindor in that interview looked like he was having a ball. Harrison Bader um was having such a good time. Like I didn't realize, and then Sean Manaea. Did you realize Sean Manaea was the most international pitcher in baseball?
I did not. No, I didn't put two and two together. Makes sense. He started in Canada. I guess he pitched in Mexico
That's
City
what they said. Yeah,
when the
that's what
Padres
they
were there
said.
at
The
some
Mexico
point.
City series.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, a cool fact, especially for a guy who loves traveling so much. And I know he's been to like 14 different countries, so it makes sense that that guy has pitched on in four different
Yeah,
countries
and you
now.
know what? Like obviously, we've been glass half full kind of people on the show because we want you guys to understand what's kind of behind the numbers, what's behind the bigger picture. And one of those things is Sean Manaea did look good on the early side of that game. Some things happened later on that kind of changed some things around. And luckily, you're playing in this London series where you're only playing 2 games in 4 days, so you have a lot more flexibility with the bullpen. You could get people in sooner than you might have in a normal game. But Sean was looking really nasty in the first few innings.
Yeah, had a couple strikeouts looking, so continued that trend from his previous start. No, Sean, first time through was really good. I know that it was a little bit later in the day on Saturday local and here on the East Coast as well. But I know that a lot of outfielders were saying that they were having trouble picking the ball up off the bat. I'm sure that has to do with a few things. Number one, the roof, there's a hole in the middle, but it's a soccer stadium. So the part of the roof that's at least over the crowd is covered. So that probably leads to some weird shadows in the sun with what
And it's
time it was
white.
over there. Another thing is that, yep,
No,
the
not even
seats
the
are
seats,
white,
but the overhang,
which
the
is
roof,
very
the roof that you're talking about, that weird fenced in part of the roof that overhangs over the stadium, that's white as well. So when you're looking up in the sky, you're seeing a white backdrop, which you don't see anywhere else in baseball.
right. And then if you take a glance at the sky, then that becomes even more challenging. So, uh, all these guys had a lot of stuff to get used to on the field tactically. The turf and the bounce of the ball was also a factor that a lot of people don't think about when they watch these games. That's not a thing in any of the 30 major league stadiums. So you need to really, really take into account. It's almost weirder than playing in Tampa Bay in a way. At least Tampa Bay is fully enclosed. What you see is what you get here. There's different sight lines, like we talked about a little bit ago. No seats behind the plate. Just a really, really weird environment to play a game in compared to anything that we're used to
Now,
back
John,
home.
did you know that actually back when like the AstroTurf started getting popular in like the late '80s, early '90s, there were some players who called it Astro Ball, and the kind of the thought process behind it was to slap the ball down more often than not because like you would get that high bounce off and it would give you a completely different trajectory on the ball. I mean, I don't think anybody was using that to their advantage in this game. Not that in a bad way or good way. I just don't think it was something that was like in the thought process, but it was all I was thinking about in this game was hearing players talk about it. And like you saw that, like the throw home to Torrens, like that ball, it had such a weird bounce right before it hit his mitt. Some of the bounces in the outfield, like you just saw the ball going like way higher than you would in any other normal game. It's tough playing in these international games, man, because like you said, you're not used to this field whatsoever. Players don't play under these conditions anymore. But that was just one thing I remembered from reading a book a long time ago. That was like in like a really fun aspect to the series.
Yeah. You're talking about guys kind of chopping down to the ball. That is, I don't think anyone was
No,
doing that
no.
here, only because that's just not the way the major league hitters hit at all today, especially with the dimensions being what they are at London Stadium. I know they fixed them, but still straightaway center, less than 400 feet. Guys are definitely trying to hit the ball out. And ultra impressive today for the Mets to earn the win without the long ball. And that was because they had a lot of guys work a lot of good at bats, particularly in the ninth inning. It starts with Tyrone Taylor, who led off and drew a 9-pitch walk. And then Mark Vientos fouled off some tough cutters / sliders, whatever you want to call it, from Alvarado before putting the ball in play. Luis Torrens worked out a walk. So the Mets really made Alvarado work and beat himself, which he eventually did. Forcing one run in with a hit batsman and then the other one with the wild pitch. But the Mets also, in a lot of ways, made him uncomfortable on the mound, it seemed. He just really never settled in when coming into the
How
game.
many years have you disliked him now? It's been since what, 20? It's been since 21 or 19? Yeah.
Jose Alvarado?
When was it when he really became like a Mets enemy? It was the Dom Smith. It was the Dom Smith incident. That was 21 or was that 19?
Yeah, I think
It
it was
wouldn't have been 19
2021.
because Dom Smith was injured the entire year. So it had to be 21.
Yeah, no, that was 2021. Yeah.
It
Look, I
feels good.
mean, he's
He
got
does have
incredible
good, but it
stuff.
feels good when you have a guy that you've like had when you have that
He's got great
storyline against
stuff.
somebody, a certain player. It's like Bryce Harper. Like you like to see Bryce Harper not come up in big moments as a Mets fan. As much as we were saying before, we like Bryce Harper. The last thing I wanted to see Bryce Harper do was hit a home run in that spot. So seeing him just single and not drive any runs in, that made me happy. A strikeout would have been sick, but like I'm just happy to not see somebody do something who's made me mad for years. But yeah, man, like he just didn't have it today, and usually he has nasty stuff. Like you said, it's becoming more and more. It's becoming less and less common for you're seeing 100 less than we did for the last 5 years at this point. Like it's almost like we saw a peak of it for the last decade, and now it's on a downslope. So when you see those guys who are still able to throw 100 and go out there and just really perform, but today was just a day where the Mets batters saw what was coming, had really great plate discipline. I mean, like let's talk about Mark Vientos.
Yeah, in the last episode, we mentioned the chase rate is down, his whiff rate is down, his contact rate is up, and that is exactly what came into play in that ninth inning at bat that Mark had, coming off the bench, not starting the game, but still making a huge impact. Putting the ball in play. He was down in the count 0-2, saw a ball, put the ball in play, put pressure on Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm, it was kind of an in-between ball where it looked like it might go foul, but it really, when you look back at it, had no chance of going foul. And then what does Boehm try to do? Does he try to come home, cut the lead runner off? Does he try to throw to first? What's the play? And when it's all said and done, Boehm gets no outs, and Mark Vientos has a huge RBI. So that was a massive at bat for a guy who, when we spoke to Mendy last week, he told us about Mark Vientos' maturity as a player. And I think it's a multifaceted thing. I think number one, it's maturing as a person, but also maturing as a ball player. And we're seeing Mark Vientos do just that. There used to be a little bit more chase there last year, jumping out of his shoes. He's not like that anymore. He's really putting himself in the moment, hitting in the moment. In that situation, you don't need to try to hit the ball over to, I don't know. I tried to think of a random town in England, but I failed to do so. But you don't need to hit the ball 600 feet. You got to put the ball in play and get that runner home from third. And that's exactly what he did there in that situation. So you love to see that. You love to see the maturation and the growth of a guy who is already a really, really good player and is only going to get better and better as time goes by.
Speaking of random towns in England, I saw you liked my reply to a tweet about Mike. I also couldn't think of a random town in England. That's why I just tweeted.
I was gonna say a random soccer team, but like I don't think Everton's not a town, so it's better off I didn't do that. Otherwise, I would
And
have
I wouldn't
sounded
have corrected you because
stupid,
I don't know.
and I do that enough. Well, someone would have, and that
No,
would have been
people love to
bad.
people love to correct. That's a big thing these days. But dude, it was just there was a lot of great moments this weekend. Another one, DJ Stewart, dude, that catch was incredible. From the like one, it was just an impressive catch. DJ Stewart played an incredible right field today. Watching him run out there and just like jumping up and get caught on the fence and then like getting the wind just completely taken out of him and the freeze frame of him in like the Jordan logo style jump against the chain linked fence made me really happy.
Yeah, I mean, Doug Landville put it best on the broadcast when he said, "You're going back against a wall that like you have no experience with." I know. I think I said this a couple episodes ago. When you're down on the field, you don't realize how
Yeah.
tall the wall is. You also don't realize how
Yeah.
hard the wall is. And that might sound a little redundant, but like it's not because they're nice and padded and it looks real soft and like it'd be fun to jump into one. But when you're going back with momentum and you have to glance back and find the ball and then look to the wall and then glance and find the ball again, and you don't realize how fast you're moving towards that wall, like that's a pretty rough collision. So for DJ to track the ball in an unfamiliar
In a
ballpark
smaller
once
ballpark.
again, get back to the spot in a smaller ballpark, get back to the spot, make the catch, hit the wall, hang on to the ball, make a great catch. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was a really good moment. Adrian Houser also just being so valuable in the bullpen. Got a 1.20 ERA as a reliever, has not allowed a home run yet.
Yeah, look, Adrian Houser's a good pitcher. We spoke about this a couple months ago, how his sinker was one of the best pitches in all of baseball not too long ago. He obviously struggled out of the gate in the starting rotation, but he's a guy that's going to contribute to this team this year, and he's been doing just that, like you mentioned, the 1.20 ERA as a reliever. So David Stearns brought him over for a reason, and Adrian Houser has been more of the guy who we know he can be.
Now, John, Daniel Murphy also beat Chase Utley in that home run derby over the weekend. I know that's not an actual game moment, but that leads me to this because we interviewed Daniel Murphy that played on our last episode. And I asked Daniel Murphy, like, what players he still keeps up with from his days as a Met. And one of those guys he mentioned who was part of their group was Josh Satin, which surprised you because I remember you asked him to follow up, be like, wait, what's the Josh Satin connection? And then we see during the game who's David Wright sitting next to in London. It's Josh Satin.
Yeah, so I knew that David and Josh Satin hung out a lot. They both live out in California, and we know that Murph said that. I think when we spoke with David at spring training, he might have mentioned that he sees Josh Satin a lot. I
That sounds
feel like he
familiar.
said that to us, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I think he did. But yeah, I mean, I got a few texts of that picture. Oh, there's Josh. What's Josh Satin doing there? But hey, that's why you listen to Meet at the Apple. You find out that these guys they're all homies.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, it was just that was really fun to see. All the alumni stuff this weekend was really cool. You saw Mike Piazza with like some young British kids teaching them how to bat. David Wright was all over the place this weekend. Mookie Wilson was also like all over London. He was one of the first people to go out when this first got announced last season. It's great for the game, and it's really cool that the Mets got to be a part of this. Other standout performances, Danny Young, man. Danny Young went out there today, and he came out in a big moment. He kept the game intact. Only one earned run in 8 innings of relief pitching. So just another guy that's really showing up every time he comes out of the bullpen.
Yeah, Danny Young is kind of reminding me in a way of what Jerry Blevins used to be for this Mets team, but he was effective against the righty today as well. So he's just a different look. Everyone these days is coming out of the bullpen, pumping 97, 98, high four seamers, slider down hard and away. That's not Danny Young's game. And when you have something that's rare in today's game, you have something that's valuable. A scarcity is a value. And that's what Danny Young is providing the Mets right now. So he's been great. Another reliable lefty in the bullpen along with Jake Diekman. And every time that he's had his name called, he's answered the task. So great stuff from Danny Young.
And then a guy who hasn't been in the lineup the last few days who showed up and just had a really stellar game, Jeff McNeil, man, who came up in a really big moment in the 9th inning.
Yeah, Jeff had a huge hit in the 9th inning against Alvarado, a very tough lefty. So that was a very impressive at bat for Jeff, who had 3 hard hit balls in this game. Hard hit balls being batted balls with an exit velocity of 95 miles an hour or harder. So Jeff looked good. We all know what's going on right now. That with so many lefties facing the Mets recently, Jeff was not starting. It was Jose Iglesias starting today. Jeff gets the start, and he had a good day. So we'll see what is in store for Jeff's next appearance, whenever that might be. I only say that because the Mets are going to see Jesus Luzardo, Braxton Garrett in the first 2 games of the Marlins series, 2 lefties. So we'll see if Jeff starts either of those games. But look, Jeff's a professional ball player, and we didn't need him to prove it today. That's just what he is. He's a batting champion for a reason. But today, after a little bit of time off, he plays and he makes a big impact for the team. So, you expect nothing less from Jeff McNeil because, like I said, he is a professional hitter, professional ball player, and we all know what he can provide any ball club. So great to see that from Jeff on Sunday, really contributing to the victory.
And what a day for the Belgium Jeff McNeil fan club to be in full support at the game today.
So I will say, ESPN had some great cutaway shots all day on Sunday. It really felt like a soccer game. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. When you watch like a World Cup game, there's the one broadcast and it gets filtered out across the world. So they're always, because they do crowd shots in the stadium too. And they find the best fans who really represent like where they're from. And I feel like I got that sense a lot today with some great cutaway shots in the crowd. Like I feel like you could tell who was a Brit and who wasn't a Brit in the stands. Um, there were so many random jerseys in the stands also. That makes me think that's Brits who are there, who have a jersey, who follow baseball, maybe not Mets or Phillies fans, but MLB is in town, so I'm going to go see them and I'm going to rock my favorite jersey. Like you saw yesterday, you saw the guy wearing, I think it was an Athletics jersey and an Expos hat. Maybe I have that backwards, but that was the combination of teams. I saw an Eloy Jimenez jersey. Like those are just 2 examples. There was a ton of it. So I feel like that's my interpretation.
No,
that. Do you agree with
100%.
that?
I mean, I don't think there would, if you're an American traveling for the game, you're likely a Mets or a Phillies fan. Just chances are, like that's
100%.
the biggest chances. And if you're not, you're probably not going to wear 2 different teams on whatever you're wearing. But like, I mean, I don't know if I went last year, for example, I might have tried to figure out like a Mets tie-in jersey to Cubs card. Like I would have worn my Keith Hernandez jersey because of the Cardinals last year.
Sure. Yeah. There was the most egregious example of all of this was the guy who was wearing the Met jersey and the Yankee hat, which you don't see here. You do not see that here in New York. You don't like that.
John, there's a guy at
happen.
my gym who does that. There's a guy at my gym who works out in a Yankee hat and a Mets shirt.
Have you approached this
No,
gentleman?
because like I don't know. I don't like talking to people at the gym. I like going in and getting my stuff done. But I did try to take a picture of him one time. I think I might have sent it to you. I might have sent you and been like,
don't take a picture of a guy.
No, but it wasn't to make fun of him like for his workout routine or anything. I just was like, why is this guy wearing a Yankee hat and a Mets shirt? It was crazy to me.
Vito, I get what you say when you tell me that you like to go, you don't like to talk. I get it. Talking slows you down. You never get out of there. Your heart rate's never up. I got it. But this is an example where I think you got to do a little investigative work for us here. You've got to just say, even if you don't come out the gate, just are you still using this machine, even though like you're not actually trying to use it? And then he says yes, and you go, hey, by the way, you Trojan horse it. But
next time I see him at the gym wearing the combo, because I don't remember which guy he is at this point, but he does it at least like I would say once or twice a week. He wears this combo. I will go up to him. I'll say, hey, dude, like I just got to ask you, what's the deal? I'll even give you free Mets tickets if you give me an answer, buddy. But it's it is a weird thing. And another hat I've been seeing a lot is I've seen this hat a ton in the last month. It's a hat that's split down the middle, and on one side it's a Yankee logo, and on one side it's a Met logo. I don't get it. I would never be caught dead in that. I mean, like, dude, the amount of British people who are going to be wearing Philly Mets shirts and hats for the next like few years because they bought it at the London series is going to be outrageous. Because when they showed that team store shot, I don't know if you noticed how many things they were selling that had a Mets logo and a Phillies logo right next to it.
I'm going to be honest. I know there was a lot of talk about that online. I don't mind that so much. I really don't.
I get it too, because you got to think too, man. If you buy Super Bowl merch when you go to a Super Bowl game, you also get a shirt or a jacket with 2 different teams on it. But I think it's just the fact that it's like, other than Phillies Mets, Phillies Braves, I mean Phillies Mets, Mets Braves, Mets Yankees, like, or like Dodgers Giants. Like imagine a Dodgers Giants shirt.
No, I know. Look, it's an event. It's a commemorative item for an event. Like that's not so bad. What I have a bigger problem with. Did you see what they were selling at Yankee Stadium this weekend? hats that have like on the left side is Judge 99 and the right side is Otani 17.
For
Like
Judge
Judge
versus
versus
Ohtani, a
Otani.
regular season game in the Bronx. Yeah, that makes sense. Come on, guys.
That
That's
that was pretty
ridiculous.
crazy. I think that's crazier than the Mets Philly. Like the Mets, like you said, the Super Bowl, people booked this trip, the ones who did come from the States, to go see their Mets, to go see their Phillies in London, a very unique experience, like a year ago, a year plus ago. So this is something that for a lot of people had circled on their calendars. I'm sure made a nice 5 to 7 days out of it, did all the things that there are to do in London, maybe went to some other areas, saw the game. I'm sure an all day thing between going to the pubs before and after and the games, which were not short by any means. So it was a real like linchpin of your days. This was a massive experience for a lot of people. So the Mets and Phillies logo with London series there, I have no problem with. The half Met, half Yankee hat you mentioned, by the way. Carmelo Anthony was rocking that
I
to the
know.
Knicks playoff games,
I
right?
think that's where it probably got popular from because
Yeah.
he was the first one I saw wearing it. But now I've seen people wearing it just like in the street, even at Mets games. But you know what? That Dodgers Yankees hat makes sense because it looks like there was just like looks like there was a lot of Dodgers fans at Yankee Stadium this week.
There were. I mean, a fan
You
base
saw
that
the
travels
video.
for
You
sure,
saw the
but
video of the Dodgers fans storming the Bronx.
I saw the video. Look, Vito, today is June 9th. We have like 2 weeks until Mets Yankees happens.
You want to
So,
take it easy until then?
you know, I want to take it easy. I know what you're trying to get at. I know that I get it. Me, I'm going to take it easy for a bit on them. Like we're going to get there.
Yeah,
It's going to be
we
good.
got June, end of June, end of July. We got Subway Series, home first, then away in July. Correct? Right after the All-Star break is July.
That's right. Yeah, June 25th, June 25, June 26 at Citi Field. With the way things line up right now, there's a chance that Garrett Cole might make his season debut in the Subway Series, which would give it a little extra juice as if we need that. So, yeah, that's coming down the pike. But a lot of big baseball between now and then. Also, Marlins coming to town. I mentioned that a bit earlier. Mentioned that Braxton Garrett, Jesus Luzardo will go for Miami, and Mets are going to have to take care of business,
Yeah, and
Vito.
that's part of the 5 things to do at Citi Field this upcoming week that we're going to do. So this week's the 5. We're going to do 2 5s this week. So the 5 things to do to Citi Field this week. 1, you got great pitching from the Mets side going out. You got Tyler McGill coming off of 2 really impressive starts. David Peterson, who just has really looked great after coming back from hip surgery. Sean Manaea, and of course, Luis Severino, who I think he's just looked like an all-star all season, John.
Yeah, Sevy's been really, really good for the Mets, and you guys don't need us to tell you that. But when he's on the mound, it's must-watch stuff. He's giving the Mets a chance to win, and this is not hyperbole. Every single time he takes the mound, and what more can you ask for?
100%. I mean, we've seen him on like the precipice of 2 no-hitters, right? This year, we saw the one that he took it to the 8th. We saw one that he took it to the 5th or 6th, I think. Obviously, that's not
It was
the
the
6th
sixth
inning.
inning.
That's not total no-hitter watch. Although, I mean, if you're watching Dodgers baseball, I know they called no-hitter watch before the game started for Yamamoto one game this year. But no, Sevy's been absolutely incredible to watch, dude. I mean, the pitching overall this year, the starting pitching has been good, especially over the last month or so. Yeah, so we'll continue to see that. Number 2 on the 5 things to do at Citi Field, Game of Thrones night on Friday. John, are you a Game of Thrones fan?
I was gonna say, ask me or take a guess.
I'm
The over/under of how many Game of Thrones episodes I've seen in my life. The line is
I'm
half. Half an
I'm going to
episode,
guess
over
under
or
half an
under?
episode. I'm going to guess maybe 10 minutes of an episode.
Less. I've not seen a second of an episode.
Well, John, this might be the perfect chance for you to get into it because the Iron Throne is going to be at Citi Field on Friday night. And if you buy a special ticket, you can take a picture with that throne, and there's a special commemorative shirt that's going to be released for that game. And I'm sure that we'll do some fun stuff to incorporate Game of Thrones into that night. But yeah, I mean, look, if you're a Game of Thrones, okay,
Let me ask you a question. So Game of
yeah,
Thrones, Breaking Bad is another
yeah,
one that was huge.
yeah,
Succession. Of those 3 shows, I think you love all 3, right?
yeah.
Doesn't seem like it with your reaction there, but okay. Of those 3 shows, if I were to start one, which one
Succession
should
because
it
you're
be?
Kendall Roy. Somebody actually in the office came up last week and said John is so much like Kendall Roy.
Who was it?
It was Corey.
You
Walked
added him
into the
quickly
office
there.
and I just started watching Succession. It's crazy how much John is like Kendall Roy. And I was like, yeah, we've been saying that for a while. But you should watch it. Succession is an easy watch. You also named two HBO shows out of the three. But dude, Succession's a really fun watch. It's easy. It's only like 3 or 4 seasons. They're all short. 100% say jump right into Succession. Breaking Bad, I watched when it was on. I like Breaking Bad. I don't think I'd watch again. I think like Succession is a show that I actually would rewatch and like not even in too far in the distant future. But Game of Thrones nights at Citi Field is exciting because, dude, you know one of the characters has the same name as me. Khaleesi. She's the queen of dragons.
I think I've actually sat in the Iron Throne, by the way. Now that I think about it, I think I've done this once. I think I was at Game of Thrones night in Chicago in like July of 2017. I think I have a picture of
Okay, if
this.
you
I'm
look,
gonna
we'll
look.
just throw it up right here. And if you don't have it, you won't see it right now. But that's the second thing to do this week at Citi Field. Third thing, Saturday, Hawaiian shirt night. John and I have talked about the last Hawaiian shirt night back in 2019 plenty of times because it was a night where they were mobbed all over the ballpark. And this one, if you went to that one, you know that shirt, as much as I love it, as much as we all love it, it's not the best quality. You're basically wearing a garbage bag because it's just like the most extreme heat-inducing polyester. This shirt is like real shirt material. It's a really nice shirt, got hot dogs on it, so you can wear that glizzy shirt to the next Dollar Dog night if that might ever happen again. But yeah, I think Hawaiian shirt night is a must for Mets fans.
I think we should try to get our hands on a couple of shirts before Saturday. Try model them, show them off. Let the people, you're giving a great description of what they are, but how do they wear? I think that's a question
We
that
will
we
be
need to
wearing
answer.
them on our preview episode that we put out for the Marlins recap, Padres preview series. We will be wearing those shirts. I will guarantee that. Next thing to talk about.
A guarantee.
A meet at the Apple guarantee. Next thing, what should he eat at the ballpark this week, John? It's easy. Summer's basically here. I know summer doesn't officially start till the end of June, but I think I'm one of the people that says summer starts with Memorial Day, and it's time to get yourself a lobster roll at Citi Field. You know why? If you think about cost effectiveness, a lobster roll is always like $30, no matter where you go. So it's a pretty fair price thing when you get that for $30 at the ballpark. And I go to that thing often. They heap the lobster on there. You're getting a lot more than you would get at a bar or a restaurant.
Took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, I've had a few lobster rolls at Citi Field, and every time I've been impressed by the amount of lobster meat that was on that bad boy. So you're 100% correct. I think I'm having lobster rolls tonight, actually. Here's my only problem with a lobster roll is, we feel this way about a gyro. I feel like it's
Thank you.
Snack. It's
It
snack.
is. And especially
I feel like you need two
especially because they always
rolls.
pair it with potato chips, so it's like even less filling because of that. But 100% right.
Yeah, and I'm not talking. I'm just talking in general. Like, if you get lobster meat and bring it home and get some potato buns and make a lobster roll there, like it's just, I don't know. It's just not it's not dinner. It's not
No,
dinner.
now
I'll
what
put
do
it
you
that
like
way.
better? Do you like a hot one or a cold one? Oh, I know which one you like.
I'm a cold. I like cold.
Really?
I like cold. I really like potato salad. I'm not gonna slather it with butter
You're a
or
mayo
anything
guy?
like that.
That's
Yeah.
shocking with your like eating habits. I would think that you didn't like mayo. I know mayo's not cheese, but like I feel like people who don't like cheese also wouldn't like mayo.
I like mayo in doses. I like mayo when you're using it for like a chicken salad or a tuna salad. Like there are some people that dip French
Yeah.
fries in
I'd
mayonnaise or like put a lot of it
I'll
on
do
a
that.
sandwich.
I'll dip
I don't do
French
that.
fries in mayo,
Yeah, I
man.
don't do
French
that.
fries in mayo with a little dash of ketchup. That's a move, dude.
No, I know that this is a popular thing. I know that, but it's not for
Hey, to
me.
each his own.
So I don't love mayo, but I'll eat it in the right
All right, the
ways.
fifth thing to do at Citi Field this week is just come to ball games. You know why? The weather's supposed to be really nice all week, and that means summer's here. You've seen that it could be a rainy week sometimes. It could be a rainy week and you don't get to go to games and have a nice time. On a week like this where the weather is nice almost every single day, come to the ballpark, enjoy the atmosphere, have a nice night at Citi Field, and then come to a beautiful Sunday game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a really fun week at Citi Field with the guys coming home after this win. The Mets playing well. They've won 4 of their last 5 games now. They've got the Marlins coming to town and the Padres coming to town after that. Celebrate Father's Day at Citi Field on Sunday. That'll be great. Friday night, another DJ night. Um, the Padres, their fan base travels pretty well also, so that's always a fun weekend when those two teams get together. And like you said, good weather at the ballpark. You got the K Corner $3 happy hour. Like, what else are you doing this week or weekend that you're not going to be at Citi Field? That sounds like a bad decision to not
100%,
be
dude.
there.
It's summertime. It's baseball time. It's beer time. It's glizzy time. I'm excited to be at the ballpark every night this week. And you know what? Let's change the narrative. The Mets have had some bad Junes in our lives in franchise history. Let's make June the month that this team turns it around and puts things into full gear. We're already off into a good start right now. Let's just keep it rolling. And the best way to do that is to show up, support the team, have that energy in the stand. Every time you hear Let's Go Mets on the loudspeaker, every time you hear people clapping, every time you hear people cheering, every time you see a damn noise meter on that TV, I want you to get up out of your seats and I want you to scream Let's Go Mets because we're going to change June.
I feel like you just reenacted a Mets version of the moment from Network.
Basically, just
I want everyone to get up out of their seats and yell. Like, you kind of just ended it in the same way that noise meter was
maybe
done
that's
back in the day.
subconscious because I do remember that so vividly of like when we used to do stuff like that back in the day. But why don't we start to wrap up this episode and move on to our
Hold on, Vito.
Okay.
I got one more thing. I want to bring up today is the 25th anniversary of the day that Bobby Valentine was ejected from a ball game and then snuck back in the dugout wearing a mustache and whatever disguise. And I feel like this isn't talked about enough. That Bobby Valentine actually
You don't think
did
it's talked
that
about enough?
and went back in. Like, I feel
like people love this moment.
don't
I feel
know,
like this is a top Mets moment for many people.
I haven't met a person who has. Is it a top Mets moment for you?
I mean, like I'm working on something right now that I haven't even gotten a chance to talk to you about, and this is one of the things I have in the in my pitch is the day Bobby Valentine came back out in a mustache and glasses to try to sneak back into the game after getting ejected.
Yeah, this is true urban legend stuff.
It's not urban legend because we have photo evidence of
I
it.
mean, no, not
Folk
yeah,
legend,
no, not
folk
urban legend. That wasn't the right. That wasn't the. Yes, folk legend, folklore. What we have to do is one day we need to try to break a world record, a Guinness World Record, where we have hopefully the Mets are home on June 9th next season. And if they are, we have everyone wear a disguise. And I wonder what the Guinness World Record is for the most people wearing a disguise in a stadium. Like, that number can't be more than what, 30,000? Like, we could beat
I
that.
mean, dude, this is something that there's two people that I sit across from now that I think you should pitch that to. Make it part of a special day at Citi Field.
This could be big.
If you want to be part of Bobby Valentine Glasses Day, comment below. Tweet at us. I'm at Vito F. Khaleesi. John is at JMB9191. Tell us if you want to be a part of Bobby Valentine Day. Hopefully next year if the Mets are home on June 9th. Let's do another 5, and let's make this one the 5 Mets prospects you should be watching right now. A little Future of Flushing subcategory. Future of Flushing, by the way, is back. We're doing about 2 to 3 episodes a week, one of those being an interview. We'll have another one for you Tuesday morning, recapping the weekend of games because there's no games on Mondays, really. But we did some episodes last week. That's Future of Flushing on Apple and Spotify. I believe we're going to release an interview we did with the 3 Cyclones pitchers who were part of the first Cyclones no-hitter in franchise history. I think we'll release that one this week. But we're back in full effect, so why don't we jump right into us? Talk about 5 players who made an impact over the last week, over the start of June. One of those, AJ Ewing, who was recently promoted from the Complex League to the St. Lucie Mets. And since that promotion, he's been off to a righteous start. 4 hits, 4 walks, hit his first home run for PSL, and got 3 RBIs, John. He's just looking really good so far.
Yeah, Ewing's got a beautiful lefty swing. High school kid the Mets took in the 4th round last year, and they've been aggressive with him. He proved that he had nothing left to prove in the Complex League, so the Mets moved him up. You heard David Stearns talking about the process and the things that the Mets look for when they go through the promotion process. And Ewing has been equal to the task, playing much younger than league average in the Florida State League, but he's been great. So another exciting prospect brought into the organization through the amateur draft last July.
Another guy we want to talk about, who we talk about, it feels like a lot of episodes, that's Joander Suarez, who in his last start had 6 2/3 innings pitched, only gave up 1 walk and 2 earned runs, and in that start, 10 strikeouts, John.
Yeah, and I feel like we talk about Suarez a lot, and I feel like he's not getting enough love elsewhere. This is a guy who really profiles to be a starter in a major league rotation one day. His stuff has been he's got great stuff. Fastball 93, 95, keeps hitters off balance. And since his promotion last year to Double A late in the season, when he threw the no hitter, he had the scoreless inning streak to end the season. And now you take it into this year where he's missing so many bats in a really competitive league. Suarez is a guy that can absolutely be part of a rotation. I said that a few seconds ago. But Mets fans should be excited about this young righty. Came back from injury, has that in the rearview mirror, and he's been dominating at Double A. The kind of guy who possibly could get another opportunity, another challenge before the season's over.
And another guy Mets fans are already pretty excited about. You see him a lot on Mets Twitter. That's the big red dog, Ryan Clifford. So far in June, he's got 3 hits, John, and they're all home runs.
Yeah, Clifford is one of the strongest dudes in the organization, especially down in the minors. He has just that raw country strength, country power. We saw that last year. Drafted, signed out of high school, still very, very young, but Mets moved him up to Double A, and he's done nothing but hit. You mentioned those 3 homers coming in the last 4 days alone. So really exciting that Ryan Clifford seems to really have found his stroke, and he's just driving balls to all fields. Hit a home run to left center. The kind of poke that you don't see from a lot of lefty hitters, especially at that level, that young. Yeah, Clifford's been great recently.
And Luis Angel Acuna, back-to-back multi-hit games, has a 350 OBP in his last 13. Somebody who Mets fans should continue to be excited about, and somebody who, you never know, you really could see Acuna get a chance on the Major League roster this year.
Yeah, I mean, Acuna is the typical spark plug that you want at the top of your lineup with his propensity to get on base. He's got pop in the bat. You saw that last year before the trade. You saw it after the trade as well. But he is just such a pest when he's on base. The bet that he had with his brother, and unfortunately, really terrible to see the way the season ended for Ronald Acuna Jr., one of the most talented players in the sport and fun players in the sport. We obviously hope to see him back on the diamond soon and doing the amazing things that he does. But his brother is so similar to him on the bases, maybe even peskier. Like if Luis Angel Acuna is on base, he's probably going to try to steal a base against you. And he really puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses. This past Friday, had a single, stole second, moved over on an out, came home on an out. The kind of guy that can just generate offense by himself. A rare breed, but that's exactly what Luis Angel Acuna projects to be.
And we're going to wrap up the 5 future of Flushing prospects you should be looking at with Mike Brosseau. A pretty interesting one on this list because Mike Brosseau is a guy who's actually in the Brewers organization that David Stearns brought over here. So somebody who obviously David Stearns saw something in to bring him in when he took over the Mets.
Yeah, look, Brosseau is an interesting piece. Not only did he play for the Brewers, he also played for the Rays. If you recall, back in 2020, there was a little altercation between himself and Aroldis Chapman. Chapman threw one over his head during the season. This, of course, was the COVID year. And then those 2 teams played in the ALDS. That was in San Diego. And that was a 5-game series. And if you remember, Mike Brosseau hit a go-ahead homer in the bottom of the 8th inning against Chapman. And the Rays were the home team this night. And that won them the series. So Brosseau's been there. Mike Brosseau has played in this league, and he has played in big games in this league, and he's had big moments in this league. And he's been an absolute monster since joining AAA Syracuse. And he's the kind of depth that you want to have. He's the kind of depth that, there is another option if you need to turn to it. So it was a shrewd move for David Stearns to bring him over. Good point by you that he was in Milwaukee as well. But this is a guy that he can hit major league pitching. We already know that. So definitely good to keep an eye on what Mike Brosseau is doing down there.
And, dude, the Syracuse Mets are just looking nasty this year. I think they're second in the International League in runs right now. Just look like a force to be reckoned with. And we've said this before, but they look kind of like what we thought the Syracuse Mets were going to be like last year. They're looking like that team this year. And it's just fun to see Mets. When your minor league teams win games and when your minor league teams make playoff pushes, you really see that trickle up theory. It's something that we said a lot on Future of Flushing last year. We would talk about the trickle up. We would talk about the trickle up theory all the time, and just the thought of the more you see that talent at the lower level rise up, it's just going to affect your major league team, which is, It seems like an obvious thing to say, but I think a lot of fans don't realize that. But John, it was a fun weekend, man. It was a really good series in London. It's great to grow the game internationally. I hope to see more of these chances. I would love to see another Mets game in Puerto Rico. They reminded me that my guy Mike Pelfrey was the pitched in one of those Puerto Rican games back in the day against the Marlins, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, look, baseball is growing. It's awesome that they do these London games. They go elsewhere as well, and I'm sure that this kind of thing is only going to continue to get bigger. I'm sure more and more different countries and areas of the world will see games. You know, we saw South Korea to start the season. We've seen Japan. Um, I wonder what's next, but an awesome week that MLB put together, and for the Mets to split the series with a great Phillies team and earn a win the way they did. Luis Torrens making the incredible 2-2-3 double play to seal it, which, by the way, I know we probably should have said this at the beginning, but for him to spin around in the direction he did and throw a strike still, because if that throw is up the line or into the outfield, the tying run is probably going to score. So it was kind of an all or nothing play that he made. And I mean, he's been so good since coming over. Another couple hard hit balls for him. I know he hit one to the wall on Sunday. It's we'll see how things shape out. It looks like Francisco Alvarez could be back this week, perhaps as early as Tuesday. He's playing in another rehab game for the Cyclones on Sunday. So whatever winds up happening, Luis Torrens has really been great. And that defensive play, I mean, if that doesn't go well, this is a much different podcast episode. The team flight's a lot different, and the mood on Tuesday night at Citi Field's a lot different. But instead, he gets the job done, makes the heroic play, and all is well right now in Mets world, baby.
And at the end of that game, Pete Alonso did an interview with ESPN where he said, "Oh, I wish this was a 4-game series," which is something I didn't even think like it is doable. A 4-game series is doable, and I think a 4-game series also does just make more sense. It gives you a better chance to get acclimated to the new environment over there. You fly over on like say you do your Sunday game, you fly out on Monday, you have off, then you play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I guess. I mean, it's just schedule manipulation the same way this was schedule manipulation. But I would love to see more games out there. 2 home games each.
Yeah, well, I think the reason why Pete said that is because he had such a great time. You know, I think that if he was
No,
miserable,
yeah.
he'd be not clamoring for having these series being longer. So it was
Did
just
you
an
hear
awesome
he really
weekend, and really excited for
did you
what's
hear
to
he
come
really
here.
wanted Sunday roast? The Sunday
Go
roast he
ahead.
really wanted. I don't know if he got it. I tried to ask some minds that were over on the other side if he got his Sunday roast. Couldn't get any confirmation if he did or not. But yesterday he mentioned that today he was really hoping to get one. But it's tough when you're playing a game in the middle of the day. You don't want to get too full. Do you know what Sunday roast is, John?
I was going to ask. No, I heard that also, but if you asked me, I couldn't tell you what it is. What is it?
My wife had to explain this to me because I didn't know either. But basically, on Sundays in London, they just eat like Thanksgiving dinner every week.
I mean, that's kind of fun.
That is fun, right? I mean, I'm Italian, and Italians are big on like Sunday dinner, but like weekly Thanksgiving is wild, especially because feel like Thanksgiving has bad memories for them over there.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, are they doing the
No,
same exact thing? It sounds like they're
I
kind of
think
ripping
I
off a
I
great
think
American
my wife was
tradition.
just using Thanksgiving as an example of just a big meal. Like I think it was more just
Got it. So there's no
maybe
stuffing.
some figgy pudding. They
Maybe
do
some
like that
figgy
figgy
pudding.
pudding.
Yeah, I don't know. I know food has been a hot topic of conversation, London versus, New York and all that. So, um, I don't know, but I mean, a Sunday roast sounds awesome. So I hope Pete did get it for himself. Well
Well
deserved.
deserved. And we will see you all here for the recap of the Marlins series. And thank you all for listening. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Vito F. Calisi. John is at JMB9191. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and on the Mets YouTube, where you can watch the whole show. Make sure to leave us a review. Leave those 5 stars reviews. They really help us out. Say something nice. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. And thanks for meeting us at the Apple.